Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Alex Flood. Lakehead University hosted an electric car show in their parking lot today as electric car owners and enthusiasts gathered for the first of its kind display in northwestern Ontario. Mitchell Ringos was on the scene and has the details.
Around 20 fully electric or mostly electric vehicles, from Teslas all the way to an electric lawnmower, were on display today to help the community understand the cars and what it's like to drive one. The EV owners answered many questions like where to charge up, how much it costs, are they winter safe, and who better to ask than your neighbors. Event coordinator Laura Mason says that the faster we can all make the move to electric, the better it will be for the environment.
With the increasing gas prices, I'm hoping people are interested in coming out to see an alternative. Like they're awesome cars. They're fast, they're quiet, they're powerful, and just so well designed. It's like win-win, you know, get in like a better car and do something for our future.
And with gas prices skyrocketing, these cars cost mere dollars to fully charge up, which event organizer Ken Shields says is only one of the many unique advantages to owning an electric vehicle. And with internal combustion engines for private use being taken out of production by 2035, Shields says this event was a great start to educate the public and take a step to a greener future.
This is why we're doing it, is to educate people that, hey, it is possible in northwestern Ontario when the snow's up to here. If you can get around with a gas vehicle, these are actually a little bit better because you can warm them up and get in them. Like some of them have 5 heated seats, for crying out loud.
Mason and Shields say this will be an annual event and that there is potential to have it as an indoor car show next year as the electric vehicles don't produce emissions. Mitchell Ringos, TBT News.
The 22nd annual Empty Bowls Caring Hearts fundraiser was once again a drive-through event and took place at Moose Hall today in support of Shelter House Thunder Bay and the Thunder Bay Food Bank. Building on the success of the fundraiser in 2020, where they sold all 300 tickets, they stepped it up this year with approximately 440 tickets sold. The fundraiser was a drive-through for the second year and had a lineup of cars eagerly waiting to get their one-of-a-kind bowls made by the Thunder Bay Potters Guild. In addition to the bowls, they added homemade soup in environmentally friendly packaging this year to add on to the already spectacular event. Co-chair for the fundraiser, Robin Cooper, says the bowls this year were amazing and hopes the community sees the deeper message.
The idea behind the bowl really is that they have that as a constant reminder that there are people in our community that don't always have access to food, and there are organizations that are out there to help folks. So we hope that people will think about that and also support those organizations throughout the year, not just at Empty Bowls time.
Cooper says Empty Bowls will be back next year as well and hopes to have a combination of a drive-through and in-person fundraiser. And it's a well-known fact there has been a financial impact on businesses and organizations everywhere as a result of COVID-19, but the financial impact on hospitals is not so well known. It is one of the reasons why the Ontario government is providing relief to hospitals across the province, including several in the Kenora-Rainy River area. Adam Riley has the details.
On Tuesday, the province announced $1.2 million for the Dryden Regional Health Centre, which will be used to help the facility cover costs incurred due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Kenora-Rainy River MPP Greg Rickford, a former nurse, says not many people are aware of the financial impacts COVID-19 has had on hospitals.
They're real. They're very real, frankly, and that's why our government created a fund to the tune of $1.2 billion to help alleviate the financial strains, particularly those felt by small, rural, and medium-sized hospitals.
The funding model for hospitals relies on procedures performed. The hospital has provided money for surgeries in advance. However, COVID has caused many procedures to be postponed. Meanwhile, costs persist.
This is money to ensure that Dryden can pay its bills and does not have debt, is really what it's about. So there's not a specific allocation of something that this money is going to. It's going to ensure that this hospital, our whole healthcare organization, is financially stable organization.
Armstrong Ross says there hasn't been too much of a backlog of procedures built up at DRHC, but costs for testing centers and other related projects remain. As well, a further $281,000 was announced for infrastructure at the hospital, including a replacement medical air system and flooring upgrades in the central sterilization and reprocessing department. Rickford's tour then continued to Fort Frances, where Riverside Healthcare, which operates several medical facilities in the Rainy River District, including the La Vérendrye Hospital, received $5.5 million in similar funding to Dryden. On Thursday, Rickford then announced even more healthcare dollars in Kenora. However, he notes that hospital didn't qualify for some of the funding that Dryden and Fort Frances received.
The Lake of the Woods Hospital is categorically a different kind of facility, and the emphasis there is on health infrastructure renewal. So they're actually getting a larger allocation from that fund. They've got a couple of important projects on the books right now.
The $477,000 is expected to be used to improve space in the hospital's obstetrics unit. Adam Riley, TBT News.
This year marked the biggest donation yet as a result from the Staples for Education supply drive. In collaboration with the Kiwanis Club of Thunder Bay, Staples continued their 20-year tradition of fundraising for both the Catholic School Board and Lakehead Public Schools. Staples General Manager Lisa Toms presented a check totaling $9,231, which will be split between Algonquin School and Bishop Gallagher, the two recipients for this year's drive. The money was raised through a $500 donation from Kiwanis and the rest through Staples employee fundraising. Officials from the two schools have already started thinking about using the money to increase technology for their students.
Being new to the school and kind of seeing the needs of the school, this opportunity is absolutely amazing for the kids. We will be using these gift cards to put towards art materials as well as tech. That's kind of a really big deal in our school right now.
In this case, specifically for our students, and to help them with their learning, and that's the goal. And we want to encourage face-to-face learning, and we want to encourage the fact that we're modern, and this money will go toward that in terms of devices.
Local is a big part of it, and local is a big part of what we do as a company. Some of the employees that we have at the store either attended Algonquin or Bishop Gallagher School, so they know that the funds are going to be put to good use, and that's very important to us for sure.
Well, it's wonderful because over the last year and a half or so, budgets have been stretched to their max, and the support like this that we get from community partners is just absolutely crucial to us providing students with the best learning opportunities that we can.
Toms went on to say that this year more than ever, her employees knew how important it would be to raise as much money as possible for schools as kids return to in-person learning. And a more than century-old pulp and paper mill in Dryden, Ontario has been the economic engine of the community, but many workers claim an associated construction project run between 2002 and 2004 put them at unnecessary risk. Molly Thomas investigates why workers and their family members claim they were smoked.
Every morning, Diane Corriveau wakes up in disgust, seeing this 108-year-old paper mill right behind her home.
I wish that it had burned down. I wish it had been destroyed. I hate that mill.
Diane's partner Brian died in 2012. He was a steel worker at the mill for a massive construction project to keep toxic and smelly fumes out of Dryden.
He said it had to be one of the worst times in his life to be on a job.
This home video, shot by a worker, shows the smoke people on the project were exposed to. Here it's blowing away from the workers. The problem was when it blew towards them.
So what happened when Brian started to work at Dryden? What did you notice?
Everything about him changed. He started getting wobbly, shaky, not able to sleep.
In 2004, the Occupational Health Clinics for Ontario Workers set up an intake clinic. They found more than half of the workers reported fatigue, almost 200 experienced memory loss, and dozens had problems sleeping and mood swings.
What jumped out immediately was changes to their functioning as people, their memory. They weren't as sharp.
Dr. Karen diagnosed 162 workers with CTE, chronic toxic encephalopathy, a toxic brain injury caused by repeated exposure to chemicals. Ontario's Workplace Safety and Insurance Board rejected the CTE diagnosis, claiming there is no evidence of exposure to significant levels of chemicals to warrant a link. But they did give out money to more than 200 workers for short-term symptoms like respiratory problems. Small solace for Diane, who didn't get a dime and has given up on fighting for compensation. Molly Thomas, CTV News, Toronto.
Special Olympics Thunder Bay came together last night to celebrate the first ever Team Canada athletes heading down to Kazan, Russia in January of 2023. Special Olympic athletes Amy Sismar, an alpine skier, and Tyler Rissanen, a snowshoer, earned their spots on Team Canada during the Special Olympics Canada Winter Games hosted locally in February of 2020. Both athletes are on the first to compete on a world stage from the Special Olympics Thunder Bay and had a celebration Friday at the Columbus Centre. Both athletes are training for the 2023 Games rigorously and are excited to compete and represent their country.
That was a dream the first time I joined Special Olympics downhill skiing. So every time I try my best to fail. So this time, I succeed.
I think the competition's going to be high, the camaraderie is going to be high, and I think the athletes are going to be ready to go.
The celebration ended with a surprise donation of $87,500 to Special Olympics Thunder Bay by Games Chair Barry Stribe in honor of the accomplishments from all the Thunder Bay athletes. Happy to be joined now with Corey Nordstrom. And Corey, NHL season is in full swing right now, and even better than that, full capacity at some arenas.
Yes, it is. The Montreal Canadiens will be able to show off their full capacity at their first game, home game tonight. We'll have more on that after the break.
Welcome back. Well, Corey, it's been a long time coming to have fans back in venues, let alone having 100% capacity. Lots of hockey rinks across the NHL certainly taking advantage.
Oh yeah, it's a good day to see the rinks full of fans, people able to enjoy that. I know in Montreal, players and fans have waited a long time for today when the Bell Centre could be packed full of supporters cheering on the Bleu Blanc et Rouge. It's been 585 days since full capacity was allowed in Montreal, and the squad could use some of that home cooking after losing to both Toronto and Buffalo. The Habs come into tonight's opener versus the Rangers as the only squad in the league with 2 regulation losses, and hope is high they can right the ship.
We're excited. I think it's a good opportunity, like you said, to get ourselves and our game on track in front of our fans and being at home.
It's definitely going to be emotional. Some it's going to be a memory or some moment I'll remember for the rest of my life, I'm sure. And I don't want to think too far about it or think too much into it. We have a game to play. It's obviously going to be cool to have the fans back and do a presentation and all that stuff.
The Toronto Maple Leafs are hoping for a better showing in their game tonight versus the Ottawa Senators. Toronto looked sluggish Thursday as they dropped a 3-2 contest in Ottawa, and the Leafs will really need to dig deep tonight with a number of injuries and cap constraints forcing a University of Toronto goalie into a backup role with the Buds. Here's Mark Masters with more.
Peter Mrazek's injury doesn't look like it's going to be a long-term issue. As a result, he's not going on the long-term injured reserve, and so his salary continues to count against the cap. Ditto for Austin Matthews, who's still not ready to return from left wrist surgery. And now Justin Hall is dealing with an illness. He's out tonight, and Timothy Liljegren, the team's only healthy scratch in the first 2 games, will draw in. You add it all up, and the Leafs don't have enough cap space to recall a goaltender. And that means 24-year-old Richmond Hill, Ontario native Alex Bishop, a third-year commerce major at the University of Toronto, will get to dress in an NHL game tonight.
To be honest, I haven't even spoken to him yet, so I just saw him on the ice, and I didn't score any on him, so he looked pretty good.
I think he's pretty excited. He looked good in the morning skate here today, stopped a lot of pucks, so that was good, but we were just focused on getting our team ready to play.
Can you imagine what that would be like for him getting that call?
No. I'm sure the nerves are probably going, but, it's exciting.
The flat cap has created some situations here that are a lot more difficult to manage even than they were a year ago when they had the taxi squad and the third goalie emergency and all that kind of stuff. So going through that here now, Justin Hall's situation with him having cold symptoms and his PCR test has not come back here yet has created another situation for us. Whether you're a coach or you're a player, you don't give much thought to the backup goaltender. It has nothing to do with what we're trying to focus on tonight.
With Mrazek out, Jack Campbell will look to build on a strong start to this season. He's stopped 41 of 42 shots so far. If for some reason Bishop is needed tonight, he can lean on his experience in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, where he played from 2014 to 2017. He hasn't played a game with the Varsity Blues since before the pandemic began. Once they get through tonight, the Leafs will be able to recall Michael Hutchinson on an emergency basis. Mark Masters, TSN, Toronto.
Most Canadian hockey fans and certainly Leafs fans will remember Mike Babcock, but it's been a while since we've seen the former Stanley Cup and Olympic champion bench boss after his scandalous firing by the Toronto Maple Leafs. Babcock has taken on a few different roles, but is now coaching in his hometown of Saskatoon. Matt Young gives us an update.
It might not be the bright lights of the NHL, but Mike Babcock says that doesn't matter.
Players are trying hard, trying to get better, working hard, and we've got an unbelievable facility here underneath this National Hockey League, so that makes it a lot of fun, and I'm enjoying it.
After a controversial ending to his NHL tenure, Babcock is now behind the bench for the U of S Huskies men's hockey team. The season shorter, the arena smaller, and Babcock says academic and on-ice performance go hand in hand.
These guys are full-time students, and that's what they're here for. Number one, they're a student. And saying that, when they're at the rink, their number one focus is being a good player, and so you try to help them do that, and that's my job to help them with that.
When I came here to the U of S, I didn't expect to be coached by a guy of his pedigree, so to have him on our side, it's great.
Intensity and attention to detail are a few words players use to describe playing for Babcock, but being coached by a Stanley Cup winner has not added any undue pressure.
It's hard to remember. that he is who he is, you know, because you come to the rink and you just want to work and you want to learn. He's a great guy. It's you know, when we're on the ice, it's intense. We're all business, but when we're away from the rink and stuff, we're just guys and we like to hang out and relax and kind of decompress.
So far, Babcock says he enjoys spending time with his family, with his son helping him on the bench. There are challenges, such as fundraising for the program, but most importantly, he hopes to play a positive role as these athletes build a foundation for their future.
I'm a McGill University graduate. Set me up for my future without any question, and going to school and all the lessons you learn there. And a big part of it's the class and doing well, but there's also the interaction with all the great people you meet here.
So with only one more weekend of preseason left, what kind of team do the Huskies have?
Our back end's very, very steady, good size, moves the puck well. We seem to have good depth up front. We're still trying to figure it out in net right now, and we'll do that over this last weekend.
The Huskies open the regular season October 22nd against Regina. Matt Young, CTV News, Saskatoon.
Moving to baseball, the Houston Astros and Boston Red Sox are currently squaring off in Game 2 of the American League Championship Series. Houston took the last outing 5-4 in a thriller after the Red Sox couldn't wake their bats in the final stretch of Game 1. But it did not take long before the game started leaning heavily in Boston's favor. Houston starter Luis Garcia was having some trouble finding the strike zone, walking Alex Verdugo with 2 men already on. Then Boston would match last game's offensive output in one swing by JD Martinez, taking Garcia for a ride to right field for just the 7th postseason grand slam in Red Sox history. The first ends 4-0 for Boston, and you would not believe this. Remember how rare I just said postseason grand slams were? Apparently, I'm a liar. The very next inning, a pitching change couldn't save Houston. Rafael Devers goes yard to make it an 8-score lead after 2. Kike Hernandez would make it 9 after a solo jack in the 4th. And the National League Championship Series is also live tonight between the LA Dodgers and the Atlanta Braves. That game should be on in a little over an hour's time, so let's take a look at how the Dodgers got to the NLCS ahead of Game 1. LA went the distance in the divisional round against the Giants, and in typical Hollywood fashion, made Game 5 a memorable affair as well. In the top of the 9th, Dodgers star Cody Bellinger roped an RBI single in the gap in right center, scoring Justin Turner to make it a 2-1 ball game. Then, to cap things off, LA brought in Max Scherzer to close things out, and the veteran did what he's done his entire career, make batters look silly. The Dodgers will start Corey Knebel tonight, with lefty Max Fried getting the nod for Atlanta.
Yeah, pretty incredible stuff, Corey.
Amazing game. That game is actually up to 9-3 for, well, you guessed it, the Boston Red Sox right now. But really, it's not baseball weather currently here, is it, Alex?
No, it is not. But we are looking at a pretty good week ahead. We will have your local and national forecast for you after the break. Welcome back. Well, we have a pretty fantastic week of weather to look forward to here in Thunder Bay. Lots of sunshine in the forecast. Before we get you caught up here in Thunder Bay, though, we will head out west for tonight's national forecast. And we'll kick things off out west in Vancouver. Rain, shocker, I know, for Vancouver. Wow, a low of 10. A rainfall warning has been issued, though, for residents out west. Now, down south in Toronto, it is mainly cloudy tonight with a chance of showers. The low is 9 degrees. And out east in St. John's, periods of rain or drizzle is expected. Fog patches are also expected to develop with a low of 5. And sticking in the region tonight, Dryden, it's a clear one. However, it is becoming partly cloudy tonight with a chilly low of 3. Also a low of 3 over in Greenstone, mainly cloudy there. And in Sault Ste. Marie, a few showers ending after midnight, then mainly cloudy with a low of 8. And tomorrow's forecast in the region, Kenora, it's going to be a sunny one with a high of 15. And Armstrong, cloudy with a high of 10. And over in Marathon, mainly cloudy, should be clearing up by the morning though with a high of 13. And as we take a look at this hour, 12 degrees right now for Thunder Bay. A little cloudy out there, but pretty good conditions. Mostly clear tonight as well. Temperatures will drop to about 7 degrees.